All right, I'm Sam Wong. Before my panel starts the discussion, I think I'd like to basically get the players going. We have the play, and you have 4 freedom fighters here, okay? And fighting for the players in our school. Okay, let's start with our parent, Mr. Pandey.
Yeah, good afternoon to everyone. Basically a bit nervous speaking to me. I'm seeing that really all the world, most of the place from the genius I can see. Yeah. I can see that, I can see everyone's face that looking forward to hear from us. At the same time, want to change the world, how want to implement from the young kids through the fun learning. So before start, maybe just to express my points. So basically, actually my son is studying in Canberra Primary School in Primary 6. Everyone knows about Primary 6, so talking about PSLE. So although that's why he didn't come today, so on behalf of him, so I represent, okay? At the same time, so actually, I just want to thank to Singapore education system, which given an excellent platform to the kids to explore his potential and his advance in his current career. As I mentioned, some of the parents always complain about Singapore's education system too stressful to the kids, but I wish differ from them, because of this current system, the kids are able to identify the hidden talents and improving the studies of education, improves on the studies too. In our systems, basically focus on development of knowledge rather than the reproduction of the textbooks, whereas most of the countries are doing the same things, just mark up and read through the books, go for examination, get PSLE marks, that's enough already. But where it's in Singapore, especially in Canberra, I can say that students are focused on various challenges which they bring out to the best in each child. Most importantly, in Singapore, they're giving a space for each and individual, everyone to give equal opportunities, so that our kids, everyone, they have own talents, so that it can speak themselves, nothing else. And secondly, I want to thank Canberra Primary School, which my son studying in right now. The school environment and facility are beyond the expectation. It's not that exaggerated telling, it's true that I can myself. It's motivate me, my son, to study very well. At the same time, teachers in Canberra Primary School are doing a commendable job to identify each kids. I can experience myself that what went in my kids when he was in primary 3. Really, he's not doing in academic. However, the teachers can able to find his potential and where is the weak and the strong point, where it is he brought in the academic as well as in extracurricular activities that today we are talking about, the games that they develop together with the teammates plus the experts. So the things is provide the direction and solution at the same time. Teachers all everyday, day-to-day activities and issues are really keen to understand where went wrong with each kids. And also we have a relationship between teachers and parents is very good. And we are regularly we are receiving a feedback from the teacher as well, so that we can address at home what is the best way to learn through, best way to teach the kids in other better way, rather. So that as a parents, so I really thanks to everyone and given the opportunity to me. Maybe I explain some more details that how he was involved in this project. So I pass to Mr. Samvan.
Yeah, thank you. How about Fiona?
Hi, good afternoon to all. My name is Fiona. I'm currently a primary 6 teacher, teaching a graduating class and preparing themselves for the all-important PSLE. Essentially, most of my teaching career I've spent in Canberra Primary, and I must say that I developed from just a beginning teacher in physical education and language to someone who is given a lot of opportunities to find ways to harness technology to infuse and enhance teaching and learning. And in Canberra, I think our pupils take to the various application of technology, and they learn, we advocate pedagogy through play, And every pupil is put through a process where they have the total Canberra experience, where they became a discoverer, as what I think Mr. Scott has mentioned, the freedom to explore and the freedom to fail, and most importantly, the freedom to actually take on different identities. And this is some of the various technologies or application of technologies that Canberras have been using, and how our pupils take to them. And this is one of the outcomes we teachers would like to see in our classroom, highly engaged learners. And in the process of conceptualizing the pedagogically sound lessons together with new technologies, we also work very closely with our stakeholders, the parents, as well as our developers. So we're happy that we are very happy that Mr. Pandey is here to us to share, and of course, we'd like to leave some sharing to our software developer, Mr. Seed from Playware.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sid. It's easier. I'm with a company called Playware Studios. Playware is a local serious games developer. Like many of you here, we've been working in the field of serious games for almost 8 years now. And our philosophy as a company has been slightly different from, I would think it has been a little different from a lot of other schools of thought that we have seen. In Playware, we believe that games are basically one of the tools in the tool set or the toolbox that teachers have to teach. Not, play is something that can be extremely informative, very engaging, but different students learn to play in very, very different ways. And so, and there are different types of learners as well in most classrooms as we are learning. And so what we've been trying to do is we've been trying to work with schools, and I think we're very lucky and very fortunate to work with Canberra over the past 4 years and explore the different aspects and the different ways in which play can be used for teaching and learning beyond the concept of games, essentially.
Thank you. For myself, being in education for more than 34 years, coming to 35 years, principal of the third school. In Singapore, we recycle principals. I'm recycled, this is my third round of recycling. Hopefully this is my last round before I retire. And so being in this school really bring up, again, the same needs of the students. We will talk about play. Let's talk about the players. Many people have forgotten the birthday kid. It's the players. And we are talking about children that are coming into a school, want success. And we started off with P6 parents, P6 teachers with a certain slant that everybody have thought about the end product, graduation. Graduating from the exam, the all so important primary school leaving examination. And is it the top scorer that's most important or the one that is trying to pass the exam? All right? And so today we are going to share with you a perspective about gaming with a focus on the players. All right? So I think we start off by looking at purposeful play as to connect learning. I think that is the point about connecting learning with purposeful play. Because when we have fun, we are not learning, as what Scott has said. And many of our parents dissociate fun with learning. But we associate it with real life, real purposeful, in what they are finding the personal interest, passion, support. And when we have a group of friends playing, the parents say, that's bad. That is bad influence. But I think friends can bring about values that can actually produce academic achievement and career success. Can you imagine when you start playing with a group of friends and later on everybody grow up, they become business partners. They can actually progress together. And so we are in Canberra looking at the learning age rather than just exams, where we start off by looking at the child as a discoverer. And children come into the world being just, I am the world. And you ask any kid, they think that they are the king. They want everything, and they are everything. And so we look at the kids in terms of, I'm able to play, I experiment, and that's why the students, the young kids always ask why? And because they are looking in how to perform something in many different ways. And so from I am the world, I think a kid goes into I know the world. I think values education is important, and games are wonderful for finding meaning, values, connection, because games bring them to judge, games bring them to use their understanding to seek and apply. And last but not least, they love creation. Kids want control because they are kids. They play because they want real-world simulation within their hands. They control the world. I create the world, and so many kids have many ideas, but adults tell them, shut up, follow the textbook. That's what the book says. And that's where they stop them from contributing ideas. And most important, we want kids to know how to negotiate, how to basically get acceptance, all right? And so what we are thinking of is how to use play as a pedagogy. And so in Canberra, we, as one of the future schools, have this simple notion of playing as for purposeful play, rather than just playing as using game-based learning, game for learning. So we are looking at from a purposeful perspective, and we started off by having it very simply, start young, start it right. Because if you start kids on playing games, they will find meaning in games. You stop them from playing games, they will still play games. Am I right? All of us do. When we were kids, when the mom said, don't play, that's what you should be doing, play. And so we really have them in terms of engagement. I'm not showing you any software, because come to my school, we have a fair bit of development. We have a 4DI lab created by Playware with its 14 life-size screen, multiple teams, multiple layers of content where you interact. We brought Shanghai Expo to our school, created totally by the students and the teachers. Nothing else. It is what they perceive it to be. And we brought the rainforest in. Again, it is one that primary 1 student, 7, 8-year-old, going for a jungle walk, whereas the 12 years old were going to learn concepts of camouflage. And they ask questions. I think the important thing is about asking questions. And let me share with you one of the games where we play. This screen is a bit out of shape, okay? Maybe it's a resolution. Maybe I just start off by, kids like to set their own control. So they start by doing their own virtual variables. We give them a 3-dimensional environment for them to set. And by the way, Playware and Canberra Primary has, for those of you who are locals, overseas, I think Playware will engage you separately. But for schools that are within Singapore, all the development for either 4DI or 3D Hive in terms of themes, in terms of content, we are giving to all schools in Singapore free of charge. No cost at all, because we believe in developing once and use many. And what the kids can do is set the variables, get the 3D setting, be one of them, be a lion, be a hyena, be a, maybe for this game, prey and predator, be a zebra, and basically contextualize within the real world. For example, a zebra does not kick a lion to death. Because if you get the kids to play zebra and lion, you will see zebra attacking lions. Trust me, those of you who are been playing this game, Predator and Prey from 3D Hive, we know. So we have to contextualize, and we don't even have to tell them how the world orders itself. We play them a clip from National Geographic, from African jungles, and they say, oh, yeah, that's a logic. And zebras run together, and say why they run together. And when they play the game, they will understand that running together has its advantage, because unity is strength. Camouflage, running around tall grasses is important. We teach them survival. We just don't draw a graph and say, this is the graph of predator and prey relationship, and you can finish it in less than a minute. But get them to play and realize that there is survival. We're not talking about predator-prey. We're talking about survival, and what they do is they test it. And once they test it, they will make new quests, new prediction. So ours is not a predicative game. Ours is a game that you learn, and you learn this way. I show you a table that I put in. We contextualize the use of technology. We create multi-layer content, and every one learning process fits into another. And it is a game where students decide, not we decide. And the iteration is important, because learning is about iterating often, and there is continuous content, all right? And basically, in Singapore, we believe in multilingual, multidiscipline approach. And we are not only done it in school. At the present moment, we have these schools that are working with us. That is, we have only used 3D Hive on one topic, predator-prey. We are adopting as many schools as possible, each one coming in for a different focus. For example, Wellington Primary is coming in to talk about project work. I know Westview is coming in for math concepts. So each school, we call it offshore investment of learning. They play, and when they created a play, they invite my students to play together. And so we will not only play in Singapore, we play overseas, we play all over the world. All right? We invite students from South Africa, UK, Malaysia to play together. And recently we have completed a musical that we brought them together. You will be surprised when I show you the video. We only brought them in for 5 days. At the end of 5 days, we put a musical that's been seen by 2,700 audience. And this is what it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wong, for reminding us what Global Village Fest is all about. Today, students from Excellence 5 and 6 are proud to share with you cultures of the world to kickstart Global Village Festival 2013. The process has been filled with much learning, discoveries, and realizations too. It would not have been possible without the combined efforts of my teammates, Sarah and Michael.
Together with our classmates from the 2 classes, we have learned to overcome challenges, appreciate different cultures, and most importantly, we have learned to work hard as one united team.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, for the first act of the evening, we are so proud to present We Are the World.
This show is created live. There is no recording, no pre-recording. It's live.
Western sun, eastern moon,
And the sky lit only by stars. We've seen them all looking back.
The backdrop is created by the school using immersive technology.
That my heart could feel so at home, so far from home. Come so far, testing a method and starting who we are. We journey beneath the stars. Faces and faces that change our lives.
Not perfect.
Nobody meant to be
It's not perfect singing, not pitch perfect all the time, but it's
we
good
left
enough.
all our fears behind. Through the streets, in our stage of every dance. A song
These are students from Paypong, Tweed, Malacca, a village school, okay, in the Malaysian neighborhood. And look at them. And there's the immersive graphics again, the background that they have created.
around us, each nation we need. With a chance to learn, a chance to discover. We are the world, and the world is in us. Every day a new test. Live life anew, experience all the world. When the fate changes, the
Students from UK,
open
3 of them.
your heart and there's nothing you can do. Your courage will see you through. After all, we learn to look past ourselves.
I know this part.
Let's all across
A class of 60 from South Africa, they fly in with jet lag, everything, wrap up in 5 days. It's because they are really involved in this play. It's a very playful musical. No unnecessary rehearsals.
Every day a new test.
one thing we found out about playful musicals is save costs. We actually have this is the lowest budget production we have done because everything is digital and images that they are used to because it's created through using a computer. And the cast of 300 on stage. Look at the cast. See how they express themselves. Thank you for basically, letting us share with you this because this is important because we need a product beyond just an exam results. Okay, I actually have a video clip to talk about the PSLE, how it happens in my school, because the school is a school of 1,760 students, typical neighborhood school. Okay, the students come from the surrounding. They are not from rich homes, but they are surely from good homes. And this is the children that we have through play, all kinds of play, not necessarily playing games as in using a computer, playfulness in terms of dance, in terms of drama, in terms of really getting together. And we really want them to really be themselves. And so during the musical collaboration, we told them 3 things. First, do your part. It is like any game. You do your part, you aim higher, you level up, and the most important thing is capture the moment. I think learning is all about capturing the moment, and in any good learning game, if you capture the moment, you get the learning done. Okay, so that is a little introduction from us. Now we open the floor for any questions. Thank you. Any questions at all? And you can direct to any one of us. Yes, please.
I'd be interested to hear from one of the teachers how your practice has changed while working in this system.
Testing. Yep. Can I?
How your own practice as a teacher has changed.
Yeah, as a practitioner, basically from what we learn as teaching strategies and all, we find that enhanced learning and teaching can take place, especially we know the exact use of the technology pertaining to the exact delivery of that particular concept. It's not just using technology for technology, it's not just developing games for the purpose of making it fun. True enough, when I told my kids, hey, we're going to have a MMORPG kind of game where we have Prey and Predator, immediately they got very excited. But definitely we have to actually scaffold to the pupils what exactly does it entail in this game and how does it relate to the subject matter so that they can actually understand the subject matter a bit better through games rather than just using that to aid teaching and learning. So personally, I feel as a teacher, I'm more receptive to the various ways I can actually infuse either technology or how a concept can be developed further through games or through a setting where games can take place.
Yes, please.
You mentioned that you're using some kind of interactive walls for teaching. Could you explain a bit more about that?
Okay, I think it is a game where we call it 3D Hive. Okay, basically it is it is an online game. There is actually no need for any server space or install base. It's totally online, and it sets in different themes, different worlds. We have created 8 worlds. It has different content. It has objects, it has avatars, but the concepts that's used in the game, the rules are set by the teacher. So while the game is good for playing predator-prey for science, it can be played for other purpose. I will get Sid to share with you how other schools are picking up, whether it is Singapore schools or out of Singapore.
The technology essentially is a creation tool set. Where it differs is after we started speaking to schools and Canberra, we had a very extensive conversation. When we started this project, Mr. Wong actually elected about 32 teachers who we had to talk to about using games for one project. So it was a massively challenging task because we were being pulled as developers in every direction. So rather than focusing on content, what we did instead was focus on affordances. And that's what we've done with the technology that we've created, and what the kind of system that we tried to create was we created spaces for play. And so what we've done is basically we've atomized play. We've tried to break it down into the concept of identity, into the concept of representation, into the concept of control, into the concept of interaction. And the platform basically allows teachers to decide what they want in any given lesson. So we are seeing many, many different permutations and combinations. I think one very important concept that Mr. Wong mentioned, and that actually describes 3D Hive pretty well, and that's the idea, the concept of, this is Mr. Wong's coinage. I think the term is, it's an absolutely brand new term. I've not actually heard it described before. And he uses this term called continuous content. And by saying continuous, what he means is that the content is never done. None of the games that we develop for use in Canberra Primary School are ever considered a done deal. They are evolving. And so teachers use them in class, and teachers use them, I think what we experience in Canberra is that teachers use them in one way, and then they have an experience with it, and then they want to go in and change it, alter it, modify it. And so the technology that in Canberra is being used, basically, it's called 3D Hive. It's titled 3D Hive, but it's broadly, essentially, a set of tools that allow teachers to create games quite easily, play actually quite easily.
I think what Sid has described is the easier part. Let me tell you the toughest part is teachers. Okay, you get teachers to create once upon a time PowerPoint stuff. Try to put them in the 3D environment with multiple objects, multiple avatars, and multiple possibilities. Teachers freak out. All right, so what we are doing is actually doing a lot of PD. We can't even go out of the school to do professional development. Reason is because there's nobody else using the system. We are the only one. In fact, we are sharing our expertise out of Canberra Primary. So we are doing our own professional development and also some action research to look at teachers as learning designers. So we're actually running courses on learning design using the 3D Hive. So that is early start. We are basically in year 3 of our development, but already we have done 8 teams. The teachers have used it. I would say it's a whole school approach, but at different levels, all right? But I think it is good to go. So there's a reason why we dare to this year at our local sharing called Excel Fest, we started adopting schools. And we are adopting a lot of schools for Canberra to the principal or the vice principal and the owner. We visit every school personally, and we call this offshore investment, offshore, out of school investment, because in one school you cannot develop so much of content or possibilities. You only can develop it with fellow schools. So I'm also discussing with Sid how to bring such development out of Singapore to the region, because then the richness will grow. Because this is not a fixed game with fixed permutation. It is one that is very open. You can actually put any content in and you generate, and most important is the user. The more use you have, the more content you create, because it's continuous content development. Yes, please.
How do you measure
Okay, how do you measure outcomes? Teacher, want to answer?
Okay,
And
first
the
and
parent
foremost,
also?
the most obvious will be heightened students' engagement. We see that as how to make teaching fun and learning to be continuous as well. And actually, we see how pupils actually develop and intensify their learning. Sometimes they come up to me after the role-playing game of one session of Prey and Predator, and they ask very thinking questions like, Miss Lee, what about a mutant prey now? I'm now the avatar of a mutant prey. Does it act normally? So actually, they have a lot of world knowledge. And in the game setting, let's say if I'm just a normal deer and I should actually avoid the predator in a herd because of certain strategies to run away as unity strength. But they do actually think about deeper questions like, what if I were a mutant prey? And sometimes they actually point out certain technical improvement, so that which is very beneficial to the developers, like, hey, Miss Lee, I think the spawning time is actually too long, it's not very authentic, things like that. So we see that actually our pupils not just play the game at a surface value, sometimes for the brighter kids or the higher ability kids, they actually are very immersed in the character. They're building a real identity as the deer, as the predator, and they actually can think about in-depth questions that they do throw out during the class discussion or the debriefing. So we see rich learning in that sense.
Yeah, actually they are co-developers. They always have pushed Sid to the limit, not me. I'm the one that's kind to him. It's the students that push him, asking him, why not? Why can't your game go this way? Because that is what they're feeling. Because they are the animals, they say, I'm feeling the pain. I want to see how your game can feel pain, for example. Oh, oops, that is his question. What about the father?
As a father, if ask son to study for the food web and food chains in the science of P6, really, oh yeah, okay, yes, I start. Oh yeah, I finished study. Then I ask about this. Okay, which one is carnivorous? Which one is herbivorous? Oh, like that. Okay, let me check it out my textbooks. It is the same thing. Maybe he can remember the same thing in the same day, or wait for until the examination. But if the example, if taking up the prey and predator, if he play, he know what is the thing, how it's working. He learn until he remember, he do himself, he found what is the herbivores, what suppose he need to do, what is the unity. It's all in the interaction games. If I'm really myself, that experience myself as a father, he can demonstrate with me, myself, the game, how there are many twists and ticks, and how the challenge, everything is shared to me when he come back from the school. I really appreciate it, and myself, I'm the typical Indian parents, study. Why not study? Come back from school. Please take a book, study. But this time I changed my mind. It's not study by just textbooks. Learn through the interactive until you learn the facts and conceptual that you will be lead your life until you wanted to share to the other persons. So this is what I feel. This game really learn through the interactive. That is what I really feel. I really encourage my kids to continue. I'm not stopping him anymore to play. Let him play himself. Because he know the points, he know the standpoint, and where you want to go. So I want him to grow.
So, but not all parents are like Mr. Pandey. Eh? There are parents who totally reject play until we have proven the outcomes. Our students' PSLE results speaks for itself. We are like any other typical schools. For the last few years, we have 100% passes, all graduate. Our score-wise, we have every 1 out of 2 students will get either A or A star. We have around 48.5% of straight A students, okay? And it is coming out from a neighborhood, okay? They are not coming from any special homes. They are just basically, getting into the thing of learning. Right?
Can I just jump in a quick question here?
Yeah, sure.
I was talking to some MOE folks the other day, right? MOE means Ministry of Education. And so they seem to veer on the other extreme, from the kind of experimentation that you are having now. They seem to say that, show us games that have been validated, proven to be effective, then we'll have you introduce these games to schools. Now, but what I see is that, you are doing the ground up thing. So it's still a question relating to question about how do you measure that success, right? And my question is how important it is for you teachers, practitioners, to get this so-called validation, all right, before you actually introduce this kind of thing. I mean, for most of us here, we're actually converts, actually. So we're talking about how to move this industry forward. What some of the success measures that you mentioned about just now are anecdotal evidences, right? Some students come to me saying this, some students come to me saying there are probably other students who say this game is very boring also. So what I meant to say is that is there a concerted effort to get data points, all right? And then maybe the easier data point will be the PSLE result. But as you say, the PSLE result about the same, no major differentiation. So how do we move on from here? Maybe I get somewhere.
Yeah, I just start off by saying that what you don't see, what I've not showed you is that the games itself, the teachers do not stop the game and ask the students, what have you learned? In fact, the games play is continuous, and what we have is there is a caption in terms of communication, there's a caption in terms of activity, and we can actually do video recording of how the game is played. And that's where we basically do the unpacking of the scenarios that happen out of a gameplay and what decisions, there's a decision-making process. So far as I can see in terms of gameplay, number of students that getting bored of the games, few and far in between. You can ask Fiona about that because it's never the same every time. Because that is the kind of games that we don't want to basically have where there's a certain level of prediction. Okay, so of course, such games, and especially kids have mastery beyond teacher. And ask the teacher here. Okay, the kids are better, right?
And I must attest that it doesn't really just work for the high ability kids, although we didn't make it pervasive throughout the whole school, but actually we also reach out to the resilient classes who take well to the game as well. Just a quick note that teachers have to actually skew the difficulty level and the appropriateness to the lesson content. So actually it spans both extremes to all different learning needs.
Yeah, the other point is about Scott's point about freedom. Canberra Primary is lucky to have freedom because when you have academic success, MOE leave you alone to experiment. Okay, so I am able to do a lot of experiments because my school results are still okay, typically quite okay, so they leave me alone to experiment. So that is a fact, all right? So that's the reason why we have to actually bring in the resilient learners, the one that is really find tough learning and prove that this approach actually help resilient learners. Yes, please. Yeah, okay. Unintended consequences.
Cyber wellness. Some of the kids on the thought of playing games, they will just bring out their home playing, the World of Warcraft kind of enthusiasm into it. So we have to teach them about proper cyber wellness, especially in class setting. And of course, for every action or every decision they make, a quick debrief on why certain decision-making skills. Can you internalize why are you making such decision? Why is your predator hunting in a certain way? So it actually encapsulates the science learning per se. And of course, it is skewed to science PSLE questions.
Yes.
Okay, we do not really prescribe certain specific answers, so to speak. So whenever the pupils actually share with us or relate what is their thinking process like, we don't necessarily say it's right or wrong, or in actual fact, the predator should behave this way or that way. But we actually refine their answer. We seek for their understanding, where are they coming from, their understanding about the adaptation of certain animals with their camouflages or their abilities. So actually, we also correct pupils in terms of accuracy, in terms of conceptual knowledge. So the debriefing actually is a reflective process for pupils as well as for us teachers to also know where exactly is the teaching, which part of the teaching did the pupil may not get it, or is there a certain misconception. So the debriefing part acts as a reflection to us teachers as well to hone our teaching for the next lesson.
I'd like to speak to Chris's point about outcomes. As a developer, I feel very lucky that we work with Canberra Primary School. Most of the time when you work with academics, they have a very goal-oriented view of things, success-oriented, if you may. I think Canberra actually has a very unique, what do you call, experimentation-oriented approach. And I think this is one of the things that I think speaks very strongly in this project, that in a school or in any institution where you are trying to adopt play, it has to be a pervasive mindset. I think Mr. Wong showed the We Are the World, the musical, to underscore a very important point. I don't know if many people in the audience got that point. Singapore is a very, for those of you who are not from Singapore, Singapore is a very results-oriented society. When you do something like, you do what you call a musical where you invite 2,700 participants from the public, failure is not an option in Singapore. There's a lot of pressure. And very few schools in Singapore that I would know of would do that kind of play, a musical, in a live format where children are actually singing live. You know, as you can see from the recording itself, a lot of technical issues happened. There were mics that were muted. There were children that sometimes forgot their lines or stumbled a little bit. Obviously 350 children running on the stage, there were bound to be collisions, and that happened as well. But the school embraced that, and that's the thing that actually happens on a daily basis. So if they can do it in a showcase, they actually do this in class as well. The challenge to developers, and I just speak to the question that came from here, the unforeseen consequence to developers is that actually 3D Hive as a product is still under development. And I don't think, as long as Mr. Wong and his team think of the concept of play as continuous content, 3D Hive can never be done because we'll keep adding affordances. And I think that's one of the big challenges that we've seen. But this is one of the big opportunities that we've seen as well. The fact that there are schools that are willing to put themselves out there, with a view to experiment.
But I think there's one other point is, not all school leaders, pedagogists may work the same as me. I think most pedagogists want really accuracy, okay? And that is the reason why technologists and pedagogists will never agree. Because the technologists will always say, go version 1, if there's anything, patch it with 1.1, 1.2. You try with the pedagogist, the principal or the head of department for any of my subject area will say, don't you dare to leave the door and put it in access to my student until you get it 100% right. And so this doesn't basically contradict the two of us working together. It's because I'm a hybrid. I'm both a technologist as well as a pedagogist. And so that agreement is actually easier. Okay, so I push him very hard. Okay, of course, he pushed me very hard in terms of really to see how he can actually perpetuate the usage. Perpetuate usage is actually the toughest thing because it is not something, a fad that comes and go. In fact, the reason why we adopted so many schools is to ensure that we got pushed every day. Because every day, my adopted schools will come and ask me, how can we do this? Then we will be scratching our head, because we have not done that in that way before. And so our teachers in the collaboration will start to think deeper, start to think broader. So I think this is what it's all about, because I think using play, purposeful play in school is not just an instance. How to make it as part of the nature of learning in school. And that is a tough thing. That's a very tough thing. Any last questions? Let's take a last one before we go for the evening. All right, if not, thank you very much,
Thank you very much.
For your kind